this entire process, I have only made one prediction. I made it a month ago. Kyrie Irving would go to the Nets. And the reason I made that prediction was because I had an NBA player in the Eastern Conference and a former All-Star who knows Kyrie both tell me he'd made a decision a month ago. That's the only one I felt strongly about. The rest of this stuff, we just don't know. I read something in an article this morning from Woj. Teams have simply been told this: if information on your presentation gets out, you are really imperiling your chance of signing Kawhi Leonard. They want it to be private. Oh, okay. That's interesting, because the only team that's kept it quiet and private has been the Clippers, and they're out. That's why free agency is so unpredictable. These are 27 and 28-year-old young men making career-altering 8-figure, 9-figure decisions. You don't think it's hard? I've made several of these decisions in my 40s, and I didn't have 9 figures. They weren't life-altering, and it was hard for me every time, every single time. I mean, could you have guessed KD, the world's best basketball player, arguably would choose the second most interesting team in New York, 30th in attendance, Nets? Kawhi would be still considering a Lakers circus. Jimmy Butler would go from NBA championship contender Philly to a 7th seed in the East, Miami. Al Horford would bail on the Celtics. Paul George chooses Westbrook and Oklahoma City over L.A. He's from California. Yeah, NBA free agency, coincidentally, on Independence Day. These guys are independent thinkers. You don't know what you're getting. Let's talk about the Raptors and Kawhi Leonard. So he's still considering Toronto. Did you watch yesterday? It's like the Bronco chase, the OJ treatment, following all over Canada. And his cameras following all over the country. We know they had a final meeting. How do we know that? It leaked. We had fans and people waiting outside of the office building. Kawhi and his people were going to meet the Raptors. How did that get out? It leaked. Drake apparently was in the meetings. I thought he was quiet and covert and wanted to keep it under wraps. You're not going to keep anything under wraps with Drake involved. How about the Lakers situation? We found out 5 minutes after Magic Johnson and Kawhi talked, we found out about the phone call. It's like we had a transcript. I found out everything they talked about. Chris Broussard went item to item, story to story. How did that get out? Leak. Yesterday, a story broke, leaked. He's already decided on a 2+1 deal with the Lakers. Nobody's quite sure where it leaked from. Some are suggesting it's Clutch Sports, LeBron's agency, AD's agency. I don't know. But Toronto's been noisy. The Lakers has been a circus. The Clippers, not a peep. Steve Ballmer, the owner, not a peep. Jerry West, not a peep. Doc Rivers, not a peep. Covert, just like Kawhi. And they're out. They're out. If keeping it quiet was really crucial, the one team that has kept it quiet, the Clippers, who, by the way, also have a great culture and a nice young roster and a bunch of young kids, they feel like Toronto. They got all the elements in place. They just need a face. They just need a star. And you won last year with Toronto. You could certainly argue the Clippers are just a warm weather version of the Raptors. They're out. So when people try to predict, I mean, I was told Kevin Durant loved the people in the Knicks front office. He didn't even give them a meeting. Did anybody think Jimmy Butler was considering Miami? I mean, the Clippers are going to finish third on this thing. They've been the most professional. They've been the quietest. We don't know anything what these kids want. These are hard decisions. Free agency has been a guessing game. Outside of Kyrie to the Nets, who could figure out any of this stuff? I've been told Raptors, Lakers, coin flip, Clippers are third. Broussard said Clippers are out. And they've been the one that's done it right. All right, so I saw this story. Kevin Durant, quote, wasn't too fond of Steve Kerr, according to Stephen A. Smith. They did not have a great relationship. He wasn't fond of Steve Kerr at all. Okay, so who wasn't Kevin Durant offended by? The Bay Area media, Draymond Green, the medical staff, and now Steve Kerr. Steph Curry's been there for a decade. He's never had a bad afternoon. He's gotten along with everybody. He had to go through a coach being fired, Kevin Durant joining the team, Boogie Cousins comes in. He got along with everybody. I mean, Tom Brady's been in New England 19 years. He had one dust-up about a year ago with Bill Belichick, and they solved it. KD, 3 years in Oakland, and I mean a perfect team, a perfect owner, a perfect coach, a former player, a perfect teammate star, a perfect chemistry. And he didn't get along with Steve Kerr either. I mean, folks, this is like staying the night at a Ritz-Carlton and complaining that the pillows are too soft. If you Boogie Cousins worked with the Warriors. Nick Young worked with the Warriors. We all thought JaVale McGee was kind of goofy. He worked with the Warriors. Everybody works for the Warriors. I mean, the Warriors walked on eggshells for 3 years with Kevin Durant, and now we find out he didn't like the coach. I think Charles Barkley had it right. KD is just really, really absurdly sensitive.
First of all, he's a great, great basketball player, and he's a wonderful, wonderful man. But he's one of those guys who worry about what everybody thinks. The one thing you can't worry about when you're rich, famous, good-looking, or great at a sport is other people. All the ugly girls hate the homecoming queen. they have no reason, but they just hate her. I think he got thin skin, and I don't understand why. He's one of the greatest basketball players ever. He's a nice man, but he has that gene.
The Warriors catered to KD. They did everything for KD. They walked on eggshells for KD. And the NBA media too often just panders. These are grown men. Some of this is on Kevin Durant. And oh, by the way, do you know who he's chosen to spend the next 5 years of his career with? Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant is 6'11.5" of turbulence. Kyrie Irving is 6'2" of turbulence. That's an airline I'm not going to fly. Even on clear days, it's bumpy. Because if you couldn't get along with Steve Kerr, I've been covering the NBA for years. I don't think there's anybody in the league that doesn't like Steve Kerr. He went out of his way to get along with you. So did Steph and Clay. I mean, Draymond a couple of times poked you in the ribs, said things that were a little personal. It's pro sports. Guys argue. Peyton Manning used to scream at his buddy, all-pro center Jeff Saturday. It's on NFL films. You yell, you scream, you get over it. Nick Wright on First Things First this morning tried to explain Kevin Durant's displeasure with all things Warriors.
The other thing that he really wanted was a close, deep, almost familial friendship with someone on the team, and that didn't come either. So you had Kevin Durant, after that first title, feeling almost, according to the people that know him, worse than before because he actually finally grasped the thing he wanted and realized, well, if that don't make me feel whole, then what the hell can?
At some point, to be loved, you gotta love. Some of this is on Kevin Durant. The Warriors did everything you could do. They all flew cross country to meet him. Like on a holiday weekend, and all these rich guys in an offseason, they flew to meet him. And they come back, and the star, Steph Curry, over and over, he's the best player on this team, we need him. Everything. They let him have his own medical guy and the other medical staff. They gave him everything he wanted. They won. I mean, this is the Four Seasons of hotels. This is the Ritz-Carlton. If you're struggling with the Warriors, Nick Young and Boogie Cousins worked. Andre Iguodala was an all-star player. They told him, you got to go to the bench. And they were able to sandpaper that. Iggy never complained. I mean, this is one of the smart organizations. At some point, we got to stop pandering. Some of this, frankly, and he's not a bad guy, but some of this is just on Kevin. He's turbulent, even during clear skies. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.